I'm Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Clean up your damn room. Stand up straight with your shoulders back and listen to the Patrick Coffin Show.
Welcome to the show. In 1972, philosopher Mortimer Adler wrote a book called How to Read a Book. It's a very interesting book to read. It's quite long, and he makes a lot of points about how to get the most out of your book reading experiences. Well, today we're going to talk about movies, films, how to watch a movie, with our guest who's the author of a new book. It's getting a reboot by Ignatius Press soon. It's called The Message Behind the Movie. If you like films as much as I do, we're going to have a blast and a half right here on The Patrick Coffin Show. Do not miss it. Coming up straight ahead. Glad to have you aboard. Our guest is Douglas Beaumont. He's a writer and a trained theologian and a practicing cinephile, which is to say a lover of movies, as I am. He's also the editor of a book called Evangelical Exodus, published by Ignatius Press, and the upcoming book, as I mentioned, The Message Behind the Movie. I'm so happy to welcome Douglas Beaumont. Hey, Doug.
Patrick, how's it going?
It's going great. So I like to play a little game called Nomen est omen. I did this with Jordan Peterson to some effect. Nomen est omen is Latin for names our destiny. So I noticed your name, Beaumont, which I believe would be French for beautiful mountain.
Beautiful mountain, correct, yes.
Now,
I used to be addressed that way by one of my professors. Every time I'd walk into a room, he would shout out quite loudly, "The beautiful mountain!" It wasn't awkward or anything.
Nice. And of course, Doug, you see, you're digging into the beautiful mountain, in this case, the mountain known as the cinema world, and you're bringing out from your digging, you see, the riches and the truth. You see what I'm doing here? See where I'm going?
Yes, that's great. I might have to put that in the book.
Well, listen, don't. No. We want your book to be a hit, okay?
Well, I'll be sure and cite you.
Now, Doug, you wrote this when the first version was written when you were still an evangelical, and high profile when you worked with Norman Geisler, and you were a Bible teacher and full-on non-Catholic. How did your conversion to the Catholic faith flow these couple of years ago now, this Easter? How did that affect the way you went back to the material about how to talk to people about how to watch a movie and moral content and all those kind of thorny issues?
Yeah, I think that, as an evangelical in that world, Hollywood is typically just considered kind of the beast, at best maybe used as a tool for evangelization, but really it's almost like a necessary evil that you just have to deal with the culture. At least that was more the fundamentalist side that I was involved with. So I had to be very circumspect. I had to be very careful about the things I was saying, not to give very much ground to Hollywood, as it were, in the book. And the editors were making sure that I wasn't going to offend the target audience and this sort of thing. So I did feel somewhat constricted as to what I was allowed to say, how goodness was even defined with regard to watching movies. And I think that in some ways I was already thinking more Catholically than evangelically at the time that I was writing, because I really wanted to be able to say more, but at the time there just wasn't a lot of evangelicals doing that. So I just concentrated on what I knew, which was apologetics and theology, and tried to keep the book focused more on that side of it, so that I wasn't going to be in trouble with the evangelical audiences. But now being Catholic, it's great because a lot of stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor, so to speak, is going to be resurrected for this book. I'm going to talk a lot more about the art side of things and not just movies as just kind of a tool to...
Yeah, or like a moral machine gun. You're either killing people or you're saving their life based on, in other words, seeing films only through a morality filter. Like, is this film going to be good for my soul? Will it drag me into sin?
Right, and moreover, it doesn't have to be right there in the dialogue. There can be beauty and soul fortifying elements in a film that we can pull out that aren't necessarily just sitting right there on the surface like a typical Christian film, where you've got to have the gospel message laid out in the text, or else it's not worth making. Yeah,
you have to have a Jesus figure. There has to be an altar call. All the sinners have to be punished. The good people have, everything works out. And there's no struggle. That's the thing I do not like about explicitly Christian films. No one seems to struggle much because they all know it's the The sweeping music at the end is a foregone conclusion, and no one seems to be ever like shaking their fist at heaven. There doesn't seem to be any ambiguity, you know, like real life. Hey, this is Patrick Coffin. If you like what you see and hear and you want to see and hear more, consider joining Coffin Nation as a full member. Just click right here and find out more about what that means. Nipsey, my fedora. That's Coffin Nation, the world's largest online community of culture builders. Click right here. See you on the inside.